So John Makes Beats, aka John Wayne, has started a channel where he talks about making music now. I'm not sure which one to start with here. All right, what is this? Why every artist should be on YouTube.
I think the whole world might be lagging behind on the concept that in the entertainment world, fame equals money, because it doesn't anymore. But I don't blame people for thinking that, because as long as
I don't know if that's a grow tent in the corner. It looks like it could be a booth.
We can remember in the
because John Wayne raps too. So I don't know. And my first thought is it looks like a booth. Maybe it's a confession corner thing.
Entertainment world, fame has equaled money. If, say you were a musician and someone heard your song, it's because someone bought your song, either that person or someone they knew, or they heard it on the radio and you were getting radio play, making radio money. Whether or not those contracts were drawn up fairly, it doesn't change the fact that the public assumes that if you're famous, you were in situations that also dealt with profit. But those avenues have slowly or quickly died and have been replaced by social media platforms and streaming services. And on places like TikTok, you could become the most
true recording booth could also double as a confession booth.
Famous person in the world overnight and not make a dime. And when I see bands on there putting the same song and same video 60 times in a row in hopes that it catches on, it makes me think of the Underpants Gnomes. You didn't think I was going to pull that out, huh?
No.
If you don't know the Underpants Gnomes, it was a character, or I guess a group of characters on South Park. It was an early episode in which one of the characters, the kids, saw these little gnomes running around.
Wait, is that the ADHD one?
And taking everyone's underpants. And it drove him crazy that he was the only person every time that—
Bro, this is driving me crazy because I've seen every episode of South Park. I don't remember that one.
Managed to be aware enough to spot them. And everybody else thought he was crazy. Well, eventually, he got the other kids to see the same thing, and they chased those gnomes down into an underground cave system where they confronted them, and the gnomes brought them to this bulletin board. I'll never forget this. And they showed them their 3-point system for their economy, which was taking the underpants. That was point 1. Point 2 was question mark. It was just blank. And then point 3 was profit. So they were—
Is that where that's fucking from, dude? Or did that exist before that?
The underpants, and they were going to make profit, but they just didn't know how. And that's actually pretty close to how I—
Bro, is that where that fucking comes from? I didn't know that.
See a lot of entertainers or content creators on social media nowadays, except you change number 1 to get famous. But the rest remains the same. Number 2 is question mark, question mark, question mark. 3 is profit. I think for most, it is sort of a Prince Charming situation where if they generate enough buzz, a company will contact them, issue them a brand deal. And
yeah, I think people are like under the impression that they just need to get popular and then they can get signed and then they will figure out how to make money. I think that's what they're thinking.
Then everything is just smooth sailing from there. However, I don't think that most people understand the amount of fame that they accrue on the internet now does not equal even a fraction of what they think they will earn in money. And that's because fame has become a cheap commodity. In fact, there are companies out there that will give it to you seemingly for free. So what's the catch? Well, for starters, let's take a look at this sliding scale. It's a sliding scale that goes from discoverability.
We're watching a lecture right now. I fuck with this. I fuck with this.
To profit.
Okay.
And on this sliding scale are all the websites, social media platforms, streaming services, whatever that you can think of that has to deal with either content creation or forms of entertainment. So let's start plugging this in, okay?
Okay, I already kind of know where it's going to go with this. TikTok is like all the way on the left on discoverability with no profit. And then YouTube is like somewhere in the middle where you can profit and you can be discoverable. And that's why he's saying every artist should be on YouTube. I got it.
What's a platform that gives you a lot of discoverability and not a lot of money? I would say TikTok would probably be the one that comes to mind for me. TikTok is pretty chaotic when it comes to its discovery algorithm. You could create an account and within a week, you could get 50,000 followers, 100,000 followers. No problem.
Yeah, one thing about TikTok is they will promote the shit out of you. Like, I don't know why. I think they do it so people will stay on the platform more. It's weird, though. Like, I'm shadow banned on TikTok now. I don't know what the fuck I did, but I post stuff and it gets like 0 views. It's crazy.
But the problem is getting any sort of meaningful payment out of all of the fame that you're accruing there, okay? Similar with Instagram. It's kind of the same story. Not as bad, but I mean, maybe as bad, but I'll just put it over here. Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter's pretty bad. Spotify.
The amount you make off Twitter is terrible. It's fucking terrible, bro.
Why? Spotify has pretty good discoverability.
I mean, you're making profit off Spotify. That should be somewhere like in the middle, I would say. I mean, it's not like super profitable, but you can be discovered on there too.
Algorithms. However, their payout, just from a base standpoint, is horrendous. It's a joke. And if you want to opt into their special discoverability algorithms to push your music out there,
you get paid less.
To take an additional 30% of your profits. So, but yeah, pretty bad.
For that song, so, for that particular song, but yeah.
If there are websites and platforms over here, then there has to be websites and platforms over here. So these are high discoverability, low profit places. Over here, obviously then, there will be high profit, low discoverability. So one I can think of, if we're going by the Spotify thing, is Bandcamp. Bandcamp takes, I forget, I think like 10% of your profit. I mean, don't get mad at me if I'm wrong about that. And then after like $5,000 of sales, they knock that down even more, which is really good. But good luck getting anybody to find your stuff there if you don't have a following already. So you have to bring people to the platform, okay? They used to have a much more robust editorial, but that got gutted a couple years back. So actually, I don't really know how they handle their editorial now. So let's just say you got to bring your audience. Apart from that, we also have Patreon. Patreon is similar in that they take, I think, a base of 8% for their what they offer. And again, that's really good. However, you have to bring your own people to Patreon. You have to get people to there. They offer you no discoverability. They just offer you the services to get payment from those you do bring to the platform. So similar thing. You also have something like, I don't know, a streaming platform like Twitch. Again, Twitch is not the place for people to find you. In fact, people without having any sort of presence elsewhere will stream for months, even years, and only have 2 concurrent viewers. So you do need to bring people, you need to make a fan base, or you need to make some attention somewhere else for yourself before you bring them to the platform. So it's the exact opposite. So obviously,
I already know where this is going. YouTube is in the middle.
If you're putting 2 and 2 together, what you want to do is you want to create a following here and then somehow get them over here. Here's the problem with that. Have you ever been on Instagram or Twitter and linked somebody something, or you saw a link and you clicked on it, especially if it was another social media platform or something like that, and it was like the worst user experience of all time? Here's what happens when you click a link on one of those apps. They won't actually redirect you to that app. What they'll do instead is they will open up a browser inside of their app that has none of your information, none of your browser cookies or anything like that. And they'll give you the base browser view of that link. Now, that is bad because, if you're given a link to watch something, it's going to be playing in that browser. It's like one of the worst experiences ever. So, you might be thinking, well, those people, these companies need to put their top guys on it and solve that. They need to fix that.
Oh, no, they don't want to fix that. They want to keep people on the platform.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah, he's going to say that. Yeah.
They don't want you to leave their platform. They know that if you were to take people elsewhere and you had your audience and you moved somewhere else that didn't have their discoverability algorithm, that you would make more money. And they don't want you to do that because they want to make money off of what you do. So I started a Patreon a few years ago. And from what I remember, trying to get my decently sized audience from here over to here, it was brutal. And I know for a fact now that websites like Twitter, if you post a link that goes somewhere else, they actually try to kill your post before it even gets any chance to have traction because they don't want people leaving the platform. They are actively working against you to move your audience from A to B. And that is the rock and hard place that I think a lot of creators and entertainers find themselves in nowadays, where, they post their song 60 times in a row on TikTok and they have a following on TikTok now. But what are you going to do with it? how do you get them from a place where you make no money to a place where you make a decent amount of money, a fair amount of money? Another big problem with these two camps is...
I'm curious how he's going to be like, ties YouTube into this other than it like being the thing in the middle. Because I know that's where he's going with this, but I just, is it just like, don't use these other ones or like what?
If you're trying to get someone to go from here to here, the level of commitment that you're asking from them as a change is pretty big. For instance, if you subscribe to someone on Patreon, or if you watch someone on Twitch, or if you...
Bro, if you subscribe to someone on Patreon based off TikTok, that's insane. It has to be like OnlyFans type shit. Like you got to be like showing tits or dicks or something. You got to be doing something crazy for some people to go from TikTok to Patreon. There's no way.
Bought someone's album on Bandcamp, that someone takes up a lot more space in your head than if you were to follow them on TikTok or Instagram or Spotify. And that's the issue. While you are gaining audiences over here, the level of commitment that audience has toward you could be the lowest common denominator possible. And I'll prove it to you. Think about the last time you scrolled for an hour on TikTok or Instagram.
When do you follow those people?
Can you tell me more than 2 things that you saw during that hour that you were on Instagram or TikTok? Can you even tell me one? I know that I can't. I regularly scroll Instagram and it's in one eye and out the other ear or whatever.
Yeah, like the conversion rate of people watching something to actually following is like less than 1%. I'm pretty sure. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's like insanely low. So like in order to like gain followers on these platforms, you have to have posts like blowing up constantly or like ones that just blow up like to insane levels. Like for instance, on my Instagram, I've been kind of locked around like 2,000 or 3,000 or something like that for a while. And then I had this one post get like 400,000 views. And then I think I gained like 1,000 or something like that off that. Like you need like shit like that. That's the only way to like get out of that. And then basically once you start getting out of that though, you can kind of get it a little more often or easier because you have a little more following, but you have to be consistent about it.
Whatever that means. But I don't attribute any of the enjoyment I get from being on Instagram to the individual creators. I attribute it to Instagram. I am loyal to going to Instagram and looking at whatever the world has to offer me. Now, if one of those people that I mildly enjoyed were to say, hey, why don't you go ahead and watch me on Twitch, or why don't you subscribe to my Patreon, or why don't you go to my Bandcamp and check out my my albums? I'm not very likely to do that because that's not why I'm on Instagram. I'm not on Instagram to support individual creators. I'm on Instagram to be entertained by Instagram. So while you're over on these websites and platforms and you're accruing a big audience, how loyal are they? How interested are they to actually go from seeing you to supporting you? And I think that's the big problem that a lot of people are having right now. A lot of entertainers, a lot of creators are having that problem where they amass themselves here, but they can't get here because these are 2 completely different worlds. So if anybody's looking at this and seeing a big gap in the middle, congratulations, very observant. There has to be somewhere in the middle to bridge these 2 things, or even sever this and just make a shorter distance between discoverability and profit. And there's a website for that, and you're on it.
Yep. Boom.
Okay. Now, look.
This is exactly why he started a YouTube channel. Smart guy.
Don't get your underpants in a bunch, gnomes. I understand that YouTube is not a perfect website. I know that just like any other major company, they're owned by, Google, Alphabet. You know, I don't always necessarily agree with what they're doing. However, I cannot find another website
that's
on
better.
this scale. Not a startup, not a promise, not,
Yeah, like it's like, oh yeah, go use Rumble. And it's like, okay, yeah, but how many views are you going to get on Rumble?
Concept that offers this much categorized, proven discoverability and profit for the creators. And I'm not just talking about AdSense. I'm also talking about integrated stores. I'm talking about letting you hyperlink things and letting you send viewers.
True. That's actually a really good point. Like on these on those discoverability platforms, no links. Whereas on YouTube, you can put links and shit like that, and it's not going to hurt the video.
To another, their openness and their relatively neutral stance in allowing creators to monetize their work in ways that they see fit is a huge thing, and honestly necessary for anybody who's trying to make anything of themselves on the internet. Now let's take a look at this with this in mind now. So over here you have discoverability and no profit. Over here you have profit and no discoverability. And right here you have the sweet spot. I drew a line up and down instead of an S. So that's going to be my T. I do that so much. Look at this shit. Anyway, I'm not a calligraphist or I
would have made that into a P personally, but
or however you say that. So if this is all discoverability and this is all profit, this has to have something in the middle. And, as somebody who's been making videos on here for a few years, I've found that it does. So if you're a creator or an entertainer, I don't care what you want to call yourself, whatever you want.
It's funny because this has been an idea in my mind, which is why I started a YouTube channel for like the longest time. But I didn't really like think of it this deeply, you know? Like it was kind of more so just, it made sense, I guess.
If you are creating a channel on YouTube, right, it's not going to have the possibility of growing as fast as TikTok or Instagram. However,
it is possible, but it's like very, very difficult. You need to make like the craziest videos ever and also get lucky.
When you do grow it, the amount of money that you make from YouTube is more than TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah, I did start with SoundCloud, but I was like early on to like SoundCloud, like near the first few years it started.
And that's when you start to realize that it's not just all discoverability or all profit. What's happening is these websites, these platforms, they are promising you a certain level of discoverability in exchange.
I would personally put, so wait, hold on, let me go back here. I would actually personally put God damn it, dude. No, I'm not in it for the money only. Spotify, I would probably put more towards the middle, like at least in between like where Twitter is and YouTube. Because Spotify, I mean, you get paid better than these other platforms here. I mean, these other platforms, like there's like no monetization even. Like Instagram, bro, like I think I've made like $4 off Instagram, even with like having like some like shit that blows up. Then Twitter, like I've had like some stuff blow up and I probably, you know what? I pay for the blue check mark basically every single time. Like that's what I do with my monthly payment on Twitter. I'm able to pay for the blue check mark. And then maybe make like $2 profit on top of that.
What's happening is these websites, these platforms, they are promising you a certain level of discoverability, and in exchange, you give them your profit. If these companies had their way, all of us would be as famous as Michael Jackson, and none of us would be able to afford groceries. And I don't think that's good. Why would I say something so brave and yet so true? So I can hear you asking through the TV or the phone or whatever, that if websites like TikTok and Instagram and Twitter are giving you discoverability in exchange for, making money off of you in terms of ads and data, and YouTube is doing the same thing. What's the difference? Why isn't YouTube over here? And the reason for that is because the vetting process of what YouTube chooses to push is a lot more stringent and a lot more focused than these websites over here. These websites don't care too much about what they're actually pushing because the content is so short. It's bite-sized. If you don't like something that's put in front of you, you just move on. It's not a big deal. If a YouTube video is being pushed to you, that means that YouTube on some level thinks it's a good idea for you as the archetype viewer that you should spend, I don't know, anywhere from 2 to 40 minutes or beyond looking at it. And they want you to watch videos because the longer you watch the video, the longer you give them your attention, the more ads they can sell, the more data they can collect, okay? So for the same reason, it takes a longer time for someone to grow an audience on YouTube as opposed to TikTok. That's the same reason why it's a lot better for creators once they actually get the attention of the algorithm and YouTube understands what kind of video maker you are and the kind of people that are on their website that will actually enjoy what you do. And I know that people lament the placements of ads, but let me tell you something. Unless it's a membership-based platform, unless it requires you to spend money, ads are necessary.
Yeah. Well, I'm probably saying what he's about to say, but I mean, otherwise the creators aren't going to get paid. The platform isn't going to pay. No one's getting paid. And there's no ads. There has to be ads. It's like a necessary evil.
It's the most necessary thing in the world.
Yeah, fuck. I like basically just said what he was going to say. He's basically covering everything in this video. There's like nothing to fucking say about this. This OG video is called Why Every Artist Should Be on YouTube. Like there's almost like no like commentary to give on this because like where is Facebook video on this discoverability profit graph? It's actually probably even worse than TikTok because like I feel like you have to pay. You know what I mean? You have to pay to like get your stuff seen on Facebook.
With Spotify, if you spend a monthly fee, you actually get premium Spotify. They don't give you ads. Same thing with YouTube. There's a premium YouTube. And when you pay that monthly fee, you don't get ads. It's the only way for these things to work. They give you ads so that way they can pay us, which incentivizes us to keep making videos. It's literally just a souped up, much better version than whatever the hell they got going on over here. Another thing is, I have found that if somebody had subscribed to my YouTube channel and has been watching my videos, it is much more likely that I can convince them to go to the Patreon than somebody here. And that's because, just like how it's just a shorter distance. But I'm just saying everything he's gonna say before he says it. Like he's like covering the whole thing, dude. I'm a part of these platforms for specific people. They take a lot of space in my brain.
I do think Twitch's discoverability did used to be a bit better. One thing I do notice is a lot of people that try to boost their discoverability is they will bot viewers, and it's like really obvious when they do it. All is so right in the world. WB and coffee at 7 a.m. How you doing, Tony?
And the people I follow here take no space in my brain. this is kind of a middle ground. If I subscribe to a channel and I watch it, that person does take a little bit of space in my brain, enough where if I wanted more of it and, I felt like they deserved my additional support, yeah, I will consider supporting them somewhere over here. In fact, I do personally support quite a few people on these websites. So
it's a matter of engagement too. Like, you're just more engaged with the YouTube video because you're watching for longer. So then you're more likely to get someone to support you on one of these platforms here. Twitch is, I mean, I guess it makes sense. You can, really, the thing is with this, you can go in every direction too. You can send them to here or over here. This makes a lot of sense the way he has it set up, because it's like you can send people from YouTube to everywhere. Going live with Busy in 5 minutes. I can't tell if you're serious or not.
So here's basically what I think you should take away from this video. If I am somebody who has a following on any of these platforms, instead of trying to get people over here, where it's either, you don't pay me or you pay me, try to get them to YouTube. Try to get on YouTube and create a presence here. Because if you can get people from here to here, which is a lot easier than trying to get them to go.
All right, John, you really sound like all you care about is money right now, man. I don't know, dude.
From here to here, get them from here to here. Once they're here, get them from here to here. It's that simple. It's really just, you need to bridge the gap between this insanity and this utopia. And that's pretty much it. I think I said all I need to say. I don't have an outro.
It's pretty good. It was good. John makes money. True.